Before I get started, I had a couple things that I wanted to just show the group, but I wanted to see if there was anything specific that the group that's here today wants to cover. Okay. Well, if you think of something later, feel free to chime in. One of the things I was going to go over today was transferring a pre-cat item over to a regular bib. Some libraries use the pre-cat functionality in circulation frequently, and others don't use it at all. So this may not be something your library uses, but I thought it would be helpful for you to know just in case. So I'm going to go through an example of creating a pre-cat. And basically a pre-cat is just a temporary item that you haven't had a chance to catalog, but you've got a patron who's desperate for it. So I'm going to go ahead and create the pre-cat quickly here. Okay. So you see, because I entered a barcode that wasn't in the system, normally you would be scanning one of your own barcodes that would be brand new on the book. It populates, brings up this form for you to fill out, and I encourage circulation folks to fill this out as completely as possible because it really helps you when you're looking at a patron record. So type in. Circulation modifier helps also for determining checkout policies. So that's always a good one to put in there as well. And then I just click on pre-cat checkout. And now that is checked out under my patron record. When I once I bring that back, so if I okay, I'm going to go ahead and check that item in. Any questions so far? Okay. Obviously, I could go to the check-in under circulation, but I can also go to items out under actions and check it in. Okay. When I check in this pre-cat, it says this item needs to be routed to cataloging. So it should go into the cataloger's desk rather than being put on the shelf. This way it can get properly cataloged. So I'm going to click on OK. So I've got this item that has been checked out, checked in, now has been routed to cataloging. But what I need to do is I need to get it properly cataloged and attached to a bib. So I'm going to do a search. I could either do the search the catalog for this particular title. It does not exist in the Sage system. So at this point, because I've done a title search rather than an ISBN search, it's pretty specific. I could go up to cataloging and do a import record from Z39.50. And I'll type in the ISBN. If I had my scanner hooked up, I could use that instead. Okay, it came up with 3 hits. One from the Library of Congress, Prospector, and Toronto. I can take a quick look at each of these. See, Toronto, view mark. So this matches my book. And it's an okay record, but I'd like to look at the other one as well. Let's look at Prospector. Prospector doesn't have as many extra fields. It still has the contents note, and it has an additional, it has a genre heading, which is good. So I think between the two, I will select this one. So at this point, I've got Prospector selected. There are 2 options. There's an import and then an edit then import. Most often I use the edit then import so that I can add the 999 directly and make any other changes I want to before I import it. If I selected import, it would just save the bibliographic record as is and give me a link to the ID. So both work. I just feel like this one's a better option between the 2. Okay.
Beth?
Yes.
This is Ellen Mosier. When you selected that record, it didn't have a 520. So is the genre more important to have than to have the summary of the book?
I think it depends on the nature of the book. That's a really good question, Ellen. I think fiction, I think the 520 is pretty important. 520 could be added later. Both of them had the contents notes, and I think that that's, when you're doing research, that might be more helpful than a summary.
Mm-hmm.
What's the rest of the group feel?
Well, it's Ellen again. If something doesn't have a 520, I usually add one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good practice, Ellen.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. So there's some different things. I've switched to flat text editor just for ease of removing things like this 907. I could do it in the other editor as well. Okay, so I've added the 999. This record has these subfield zeros, which correspond to the Library of Congress. If you import a record with them, they don't hurt anything. SAGE will add their authority records as well. And I know there's some discussion within the mentor group as to whether we want to have folks delete these or not. Because I'm going over a different example, I'm going to leave them in for now. But we'll have more discussion on that later. Normally, when you're importing a record from Z39.50, you want to have this add item checked and enter your call number and barcode. But because I'm doing a pre-cat, I don't want to add my item at this point because it's already in the system as a pre-cat. but I wanted to let you know that that was there and you could select it. So at this point, I'm going to click on Import. I can always make additional changes to the record. If I think of something later, click on Go to Record, and it brings it up in the catalog. So here's my bib, but it's empty at this point. So what I need to do is go to Holdings View. It's showing, because I'm cataloging this, pretend, for the Union Public Library, it shows their holdings, and you can see that there's no holdings here. But what I need to do is I need to create a volume record for this particular item. So I'm going to go to Actions, and I'm going to add a volume. Okay, so it comes up, it populates this with the call number from the bib record. And so if I'm happy with that, I can retain it. I think I'm going to get rid of the /8 and then type in part of the author's name. And of course, this convention is different at each library. At this point, if I'm happy with my call number, I click on Save and Exit. This down here would be if I wanted to add more volumes to this record rather than just one. So save and exit. And now I have this volume record. And what I want to do is select that, go to Actions, and I want to mark library volume as transfer destination, because what I want to do is I want to transfer that temporary pre-cat item over to this volume. Okay, down here in green it says Holdings Transfer Target Set. What I can do is go to another tab. I've got multiple tabs open here. And go to search for copies by barcodes, so that basically I'm just going to bring up this temporary item in item status, because it's a quick way to access the item. Okay, so you can see that it's UPL Test 1. It has a pre-cat call number, a default location, its copy status is cataloging. So this is the one I want to transfer. So it's already highlighted. I'm going to come back over here to Actions, and I'm going to scroll down. Okay, transfer items to previously marked volume. Okay, you can see that it refreshes the screen, and now it's associated with this particular title. So at this point, I could edit my item from here, or I could go back to the bib record that I have in the other tab. Actions. Okay. Edit volumes and copies. And what it does is it brings up the item for me to change. You can see that the circulation library is set correctly. The shelving location, I don't want it to be in stacks because that's a SAGE location, so I can change it to adult nonfiction. Circulation modifier, book. I could also apply a template to this as well, rather than going through and modifying all of them. And set this as an adult. Okay, so I'm looking at the chat, and Jenny had a question. Mine doesn't seem to work to add it there. Jenny, where is there? I might be way behind in catching up with this chat message. Well, we can move on, but Jenny, don't let me. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, interrupting, because I saw it when Jenny's message popped up.
Okay.
It was back when you were importing the record and there was the option to add item and you unchecked it. And so I think that's what she was referring to.
Okay. So has anybody else had a problem adding their item from the import? Okay. Well, I'll work with, she just waits and does a fast add after. Okay. All right. I'd be interested in any feedback from folks. If they see that not working, please contact us so we can try and troubleshoot when and where that's happening, try to narrow it down. Okay, so I've made some changes to my item. At this point, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the stats checkout category, because I don't have the ability to apply. And because of that, I can't save and exit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to apply a template and see if that improves things. I don't have a template for Union Adult Nonfiction. So I'm just going to try to apply this one. Change the category. So I'm leaving that particular view. I'm going to look at this one, see if I can This is an example of that this web client is certainly a work in progress. That every once in a while you come across these bugs that just don't seem to correlate. You log out, log back in, and it works just fine. So I'm hoping that's the case in this situation because I certainly haven't had this many problems before.
I've found, particularly in working with like templates,
Yeah.
that very often it will save random information from the page, and it doesn't always update properly when and so you have to do a lot of that refreshing, but even sometimes when you refresh with these templates, it doesn't necessarily refresh all of the fields. Yeah, definitely some bugs, particularly with these templates.
There are, and I know there have been some improvements made. We're on version 3.1, and they've got a beta or the first release of 3.4 out. And so when we do eventually upgrade, we're going to see a much improved version of this cataloging. So the main idea of doing these particular trainings is just to get people comfortable with moving around the web client, and so that there isn't as much stress or trauma for when we do eventually upgrade. You certainly don't need to use this exclusively when you're cataloging right now. I just want folks to get comfortable with it. And to report things that you're seeing, and then we can check and see, okay, is that a reported bug? We know it's going to be fixed in such and such a release. Those things will be important and helpful for folks going forward. So just by going back into this again, editing from the item status screen by selecting edit items, it's allowing me to choose values. I was able to choose the adult stats category, and I'm no longer being blocked on this save and exit. So we're good for now. It looks like if I go ahead and show this in the catalog from the item status screen, we'll be able to see this particular book with this item added, and everything is fine. So I guess don't panic if things don't look right the first time. Go ahead and try to get out and then back in. As the others have explained, there is an issue with copy templates sometimes not populating. One of the things that has helped for some folks is to recreate that copy template. And I wanted to show you, obviously, where we were in the item. We can look at copy templates there, but there's also under administration, local administration, there's a volume copy template editor. And this allows you to get directly to your copy templates that are stored as a part of your workstation and change them. For instance, let's see, let me go down to that Union Adult Fiction template. I can apply it, and it'll show me what fields are currently stored as a part of that template. And what I can do is I can, let's say I want to update this and add this new stats checkout category. I can go ahead and I made that change. It now says adult. If I click on save, okay, it saved that template for me. So now the next time I apply it, you can see that it's no longer in red.
Yes, I think it's worthwhile explaining what you mean by re-enter, and because I'm not one of the people who had to re-enter all of my templates. So even though when I went to the edit volume copy templates, I had all of the names of my templates in that. So I could pull them down from the menu, but if I used them and the templates that were already there from the menu, it didn't work. And what I had to do was retype, so you can actually click in that box.
Yes, you can.
And like it's best, like I usually, when I was doing it, I refreshed so that it would at least come up empty and would make sure it made so that I knew that I was actually starting something from scratch. And I would actually retype the name of the template in that box and then fill it in and save it. And so far I haven't had any problem with my templates, but if I actually use the original one from the pull down menu, all of these crazy things would happen when I would try and use my templates. So hopefully other people don't have to do that, but if you are having problems with your templates, you might try something like that.
No, that's a good suggestion, Anna. And some people have had no problems at all, and other people continue to have problems. So this is one of those areas that I hope is addressed in a future release. And I know that the cataloging community, if we're noticing it, other evergreen catalogers are certainly making sure that the developers and the programmers know that they're having a problem. So it will be addressed. One of the go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that was also suggested amongst the catalogers and the folks that are working on this problem was that if there's a default option such as circulate yes or no, the default is yes, don't put it as a part of your template. They were indicating that that potentially was problematic, and only select the things for your template that really are unique. Was another suggestion that was made.
And I think that with the status, if you leave it blank, it will default to in process, which is generally what we want. So you don't have to select anything there.
Correct. Loan duration, that will always be normal by default. Circulation as type, that doesn't really need to be a part of the template because we're not using it. Same with holdable, unless specifically that you want an item to be not holdable. So a lot of these things don't have to be filled in. The OPAC visible, by default it's yes. Most often you don't put a price in your template because that price varies by item. And so a lot of these things don't need to be populated. So I'm going to go ahead and choose adult for this one. Okay, and so this is a brand new template that I am creating. Saved volume copy template. So we are right at a half hour. Are there any other quick things that folks want to talk about? We're going to have another session tomorrow.
Beth, can we come back to what the issue that Jenny brought up? Because I actually so I don't import my records this way, but then since you were there, I went ahead and while you were talking, imported a record, selected add item, entered in a call number and a barcode.
Yes.
The record did add. It's in the catalog now, but there is no item. And so then I scanned in the barcode, and so this is perhaps what Jenny was talking about. So I then scanned in the barcode, says item not found. When I went to, if I go to the record and I select holdings view, I do see that there now is this kind of unspecified volume showing up for Hood River.
Okay.
But then, and so then had to go to the volume copy editor for that, selected actions, and then, selected edit copy or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's still blank.
So
right? It still has not.
It's adding the volume, but not the item.
Right.
Okay.
So
now that I have been confronted with this problem, I'm wondering if it has to do with this new statistical category. Because it's required, it may have difficulty adding the item without a default category. So that's something I'm going to have to look into, and it is a brand new situation, so I wasn't aware of it before. I'm wondering how this is acting in the desktop client, whether we're having the same problem. Mm-hmm. So something for us to check. Because the statistical category is new and it's newly required for items.
Right.
I'm just wondering if that's a side effect of that. So I'll look into that. So it's a good thing we tried this today, so we can figure out how I can get around this.
Well, and definitely what I'm looking at is because basically everything is blank and no template has been assigned to it, so it is showing up red in that stats category. So that probably is what's making it not work right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will be working on that and then sending something out to the listserv. If anyone has suggestions for things that you feel should be covered in tomorrow's session or a future session, I would love to hear them. And thanks for everybody joining the group today. Have a good afternoon.
Hey, Beth. It's Anna.